الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. All praise belongs to Allah Almighty, and peace and blessings of Allah be upon all the prophets of Allah and the last and final messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Jazakumullah khairan, brothers and sisters, for coming. Inshallah, we welcome you to Lewisham Islamic Center, our Friday halaqah, our Friday lecture. Inshallah, this Friday or this month we'll be focusing on journeys to Islam. Various brothers have been speaking about their journeys and different experiences and what led them to Islam. Today we have with us Brother David. Brother David is from Hong Kong and alhamdulillah came to Islam many years ago. He will mention inshallah exactly when and what are the reasons, but he used to be a Christian and alhamdulillah Allah Almighty guided him to Islam. He's one of the trustees of Lewisham Islamic Center and a brother who is very beneficial to the center and to the Muslim community. I hear you, Brother David, wa jazakumullah khair.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Jazakallah for inviting me. So I thought I'd start by just explaining a bit about myself and about my family and the circumstances to which I came to Islam. So my father came to the UK from Hong Kong in the 1960s, and my mother came around about the mid-70s, and I was born and bred in the UK. And growing up in the UK was kind of strange because I don't know if you know, but with the Chinese community, we are really spread out. We're really dispersed around the country. So there's not really one area where there's a high concentration of Chinese people. So we're really spread out and you could say fairly isolated. And growing up, I was brought up as a Christian, but traditional Chinese religion is a mixture of Taoism. So Taoism is like the yin and yang, the circle, the half circle, the black and the white. Various gods, idols, a mixture of Buddhism and also ancestral worship, which is very important because in the Chinese culture it's very important to respect your ancestors. And they're also worshipped like gods as well. And being a Christian, I used to go to church on a Sunday, as you do, and had absolutely no understanding as to what was going on because they were speaking in ways which it was very hard to understand. So growing up, trying to understand Christianity was very difficult because no one would really explain to you what is Christianity, what is God. How does God relate to Jesus? Who is Jesus? So it was all kind of like spoken to at you and you just accept and you don't question. And then I guess I got to my teenage years and I just thought to myself, why am I a Christian? It doesn't make sense. And then it was back then that I didn't really focus on religion because for me religion was quite one way, so it was about being told what to do, and to me it was about not having freedom and just following without reason. Because I'm the kind of person who's always searching for reason, and I always need to know why. In order for me to do something, I need to know why. And so I guess this, in a way, led me to Islam, because round about my late teens, I was searching for the truth. And I made a promise to myself. I said to myself, I will, no matter what, try and find the truth and follow the truth, whatever that will lead me. And I didn't know it would lead me to Islam. I had no idea it would lead me to Islam, because Islam to me back then, I hadn't even heard of Islam. I didn't even know what it was. But I made myself that promise, and I kept that promise. So, I can also remember, round about my late teens, what was quite interesting was that I saw a picture of the Kaaba and I had no idea what it was. I saw the Kaaba and I saw people going around the Kaaba. And to me it looked really peaceful, it looked really nice, and I had no idea what it was, absolutely no idea, but that image stuck in my mind. So I guess that was probably my first exposure to Islam. Without even knowing about Islam, I saw something and it felt right. But I didn't pursue it because back then I didn't know many Muslims, and I had no reason to ask. So, having gone to college when I was having gone to college, I came across Muslims, and I can remember coming across this Somalian brother, and I became friends with him. We got to know each other, and then he started to talk to me about Islam, and he said to me, Muslims pray 5 times a day, and I thought to myself, wow, that's really, really hard. How can you pray 5 times a day? Because you have to remember, back then I had no understanding about Islam, and he also taught me how to greet Muslims, how to say salam. And I think he tried his best to convince me to read about Islam, to find out more about Islam. But to me, Islam was really, really foreign. It was just completely out of my radar. So it wasn't something that drew me in. Okay, so I guess that was the second encounter with Islam. Okay. And then in my late 20s, I think, in my late 20s, I was about to propose to my girlfriend, my then girlfriend, and before I proposed to her, she broke up with me, and I thought to myself, oh my God. So that was quite a big shock, because I did not see it coming, and then it left a void in my life, and that encouraged me to sort of take a step back, think about my life, think about what I want to do, where I want to go, and do you remember that promise that I made to myself when I was 14? I remember that promise, and I thought to myself, I made a promise to myself, and all these years I hadn't really been trying hard, so I undertook to renew my promise, and I started searching. So I looked at different philosophies, I looked at different religions, and then I came to narrow it down to 3. So it was Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam. The reason for Christianity was because I thought to myself, okay, I need to give it a second chance. Let me study Christianity and let me see if it's something that I could, whether I could become a practicing Christian again. And with that, I found that the more I studied Christianity, the more confused I got. And it was the same confusion that I had when I was a child. So, in a way, it was I guess, kind of reassuring that as an adult studying Christianity, it wasn't because I was a child. It was just because it's not clear. It doesn't make sense. And I chose, okay, I said to myself, okay, let me look at Buddhism, because Buddhism is quite closely related to Chinese religion. And I looked at Buddhism, I liked it, I thought it was nice, but it still felt as though there was something missing. It didn't quite feel right. And then I started to look into Islam. Now, before I seriously started to read books and started to look into Islam, in the back of my mind I was thinking, please don't let me Islam, because it's so strange and I don't want to be Muslim. So that was in the back of my mind, deep down, back of my mind. But the more I read, the more I studied, and the more I read about Islam, it came to a position where I couldn't deny it. I found the truth. And then what do you do when you find the truth? You can either deny the truth, hide from the truth, run away from the truth, but I decided to embrace the truth. And this was actually quite scary because, like I said, Islam was something that was very, very foreign to me. It was very, very strange. And also, I chose not to speak to any of my Muslim friends because I didn't want them to influence me. I wanted to come to a conclusion myself. I wanted to find my own way. I wanted to make that choice for myself because it was for me. So after I read some more, and I was then completely convinced that this is the truth, and I can't not be Muslim any longer. I had to be Muslim. Then the second problem was, okay, where do I become Muslim? Who do I go to? So I went to a mosque and spoke to the Imam, and the Imam gave me a very long lecture, talking at me, basically saying that if I didn't become Muslim right now, right this second, and if I walked out that door, and if I got hit by a bus or something happened to me, I would go to hell. And I thought to myself, I thought, okay, thank you very much. Let me think about it. I'll come back to you. And then I went away, and that kind of put me off a little bit, because it kind of reminded me of like when I was a child going to church, when I was being talked at, being told what to do. But then again, some time passed. Then I decided, okay, let's give it one more go. So I went to a different mosque, spoke to the imam, and had a really good conversation with the imam. He actually spoke to me. He answered my questions. He challenged me. He said to me, "Are you sure you want to be Muslim? Why do you want to be Muslim?" I explained to him why. And then he said to me, "Okay, think about it. And if you still want to become Muslim, come back in a few days, and after Asr prayer, we'll do the Shahada." And I did, and I did that after Asr prayer. I did Shahada, and this mosque was quite a big mosque. It's a really, really big mosque, and after the Shahada, it was an amazing feeling. Brothers just came to me, hugged me, kissed me, and I just didn't know what was going on. I was just like, what's going on? What is this? And then after that, it just kind of went silent, which I guess is quite usual, because after you become Muslim, brothers tend not to be that interested. Now let me explain that. After I became Muslim, recently someone said to me, Muslims, they like to give dawah, they like to tell people about Islam, and they're very enthusiastic. They go and tell people about Islam, they invite people to Islam, and he said, it's kind of like inviting someone to your house. You invite them to your house, but you have nothing to offer them. You have no food, nothing to offer them. So that's how I felt. I felt like I was invited. I was like, I was embraced into this brotherhood, into this ummah, and I felt really happy. But then I did feel kind of lost. Then what do I do now? Because there's still quite a lot to learn, even today. I'm still learning. There's a lot I do not know. But what I do know is that Islam is right. Islam is right for me, and Islam is universal. It's for all of mankind. It's for everyone. So it's not been easy, but I persist, and I came across Lewisham. I used to live in Woolwich, which is quite close to Lewisham. I came across Lewisham Mosque, prayed here a few times, and then began to be more and more involved. And then what struck me about this mosque is that it's very different from most mosques that I've been to, because in my old job I used to go around London and I used to go to different mosques. And what I noticed was that there were certain mosques for certain communities. So there was a Bengali mosque, an Indian mosque, a Pakistani mosque, and I thought to myself, I thought Islam's meant to be universal. What's going on? It doesn't kind of seem quite right. So for me that was strange. So that was the first strange thing. But having come to Lewisham, it felt really nice, because it really felt to me as though a true reflection of what Islam should be and how it should carry on. In that it should be universal and for all. After I became Muslim, I didn't tell my family for quite a few months, because I didn't know how they would take it. And first I told my brother, and my brother was shocked. Now, why was he shocked? Because he said to me, why do you want to become Muslim? Because they're not good people. They gamble, they drink, they do zina, they sleep around. So they say they don't, but they do. I've seen them. I know they do. So you're not like that. So why do you want to become like them? Then I explained to him, look, it's not all Muslims. Muslims are not supposed to do that. So for me, again, this was like a bit of a warning in terms of the image of what non-Muslims, how they see Muslims. It's a bit of an image. And I explained to him that it's not like that. And then he was fine with it. Then I told my sister. My sister was also fine with it. My father was also fine with it, no issue. But my mother, dead against it. Really, really dead against it. And to her, being Muslim is equal to being a terrorist. Okay? So it's very, very unfortunate, but this is what the media has done. So this is her understanding, and she's my mother, and I love her a lot. But so I guess that's another warning in terms of how the Muslim community is seen. Now, for me, that really saddens me because that is not Islam to me. That is definitely not Islam. So after becoming Muslim, in order to increase my knowledge, I went to lots and lots of different courses up and down the country. Those weekend Islamic courses, just to sort of study. So it was nice because you get to meet people and you get to learn. There's a lot of breadth. It covers a wide area, but there's no depth. Then after a while, I stopped going because it doesn't really go into detail, and it wasn't what I wanted. And my first Ramadan, I found that it was the best experience of my life. It was the most spiritual and the most best experience of my life, and it was really good seeing brothers praying together, doing acts of worship. And then, however, after Ramadan, I started to notice, because I was still new, I was still quite a new Muslim then. And I noticed that things kind of dropped off for most people. Most people stopped going to the mosque, stopped their worship, stopped their prayers. So again, that was a bit of a shock for me, because for me, being a Muslim was about praying 5 times a day, being committed. It wasn't about being a part-time Muslim. So initially, that was a bit of a shock for me. And also, another shock was what I mentioned earlier about cultural Muslims, because as I became more exposed to different Muslims, I realised that there were cultural divides. So the different cultural Muslims with different backgrounds, in a way, separated themselves. And sometimes I found that some people were very obsessed about doing the right thing. So it's just got a bit too much. So they would come to me and say, no, you've got to pray this way. Oh no, you've got to pray that way. Then this person would say, no, you pray that way. I thought to myself, which is the right way? How do I pray? So it gets quite confusing. So, but this didn't put me off Islam, because deep down, my feeling for Islam, it just felt so right, and it's very hard to put into words. I guess it's a feeling of connection. It's a feeling of I guess like coming home, like you feel at ease. So now I feel at ease as a Muslim. I do not fear death because I'm at ease, because I know that it's up to Allah. I've got that comfort. So previously when Imam Shakir spoke about the fear of Allah, I see it. My interpretation of it is that when you love Allah, you respect Him so much. Because I think the English word fear is not quite right. It's just like so much respect that you just want to really respect Allah. I don't really know what it means. It's just like this kind of embrace. So I'd like to finish by sort of saying some of my reflections, having been Muslim now for about 6-7 years, and my reflection is that it's not easy being Muslim, especially in the West. It's very, very difficult. And I really do worry for our youth. I do worry for our ummah. And I do worry about our voice as Muslims. And I do worry that when we don't have a voice, other people, other groups, they will fill that voice. Be it Muslims, be it so-called Muslims or non-Muslims. They will speak for us, and they will then dictate what is Islam. And it really saddens me to see how people see Islam, because Islam is the religion for mankind. It's absolutely universal, and it is the one. It is their religion, and it's such a beautiful religion, and it's so beautiful. I just want to share it with everyone. I want everyone to be Muslim, but obviously I can't. But I'm trying to. But, so I think these are some of my reflections. Thank you for your attention. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.